right, Ryan Jarrell here for All Access MMA, and my next guest picked up a huge round 1 KO, an 11-second knockout at CFFC 99. Deandre Anderson on the show. Deandre, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing well, man, but I'm clearly not as good as you after that 11-second KO. The first question I got to ask is your social media accounts had to have blown up a little bit, right? Some people have got to
Uh,
start to follow you more, right?
yeah, so I picked up a couple hundred more on Twitter. I actually I reached over 3K on on Instagram finally. So it was stuck. It was almost there. Then as soon as that happened, like within a couple hours I had my 3K. So um that picture, man, that picture, like Twitter is a crazy place, and one tweet can change a whole bunch of things. So, man, it's just been amazing. I still feel like I'm living in a dream. I really can't believe what's been happening.
Well, good for you. Congratulations, man. You deserve all of it. I do want to ask you, obviously, I'm sure you weren't expecting to be in and out of there in 11 seconds. So tell me what the game plan was against Jose going into this fight.
I respected Jose a lot as far as like what he can do on the ground. I knew that I could hang with him on the ground, but I didn't really feel like going there. I'm normally one of those guys that I'll press somebody against the cage, immediately. Like I straight pressure. With him, I knew I had to be a little bit more cautious. I had to take my time, and I went out there. I just was throwing the jab and threw my kicks, and I just landed something that I never expected. Man, that's just a blessing in my left hand, I guess. But it's just ridiculous how that happened.
After the KO shot, you did land one more after that, and the ref got right on top of you and told you it's all over. Did you know he was done, or did you feel like maybe he still had a little bit left in him?
And so when I've never knocked anybody out. So when I hit him, I didn't really feel it. Like I didn't know that if you knock somebody out, you really don't feel the punch that does it. When I threw the left, I kind of thought it like pushed him and he was off balance. Then I seen him fall. Then I start seeing his head come up. I was like, oh, if I did just hit him, I'm gonna make sure that like he doesn't get up on this next one. So that I knew I was only gonna throw one punch because my whole momentum, like everything that was in me. I knew that if that didn't knock him out, the first one, that hook, that right hand was gonna definitely like seal the deal. So I only had one more in me. I put everything into that.
So prior to the KO punch, I mean, again, there's not a whole lot of tape to dissect here, but you landed some really nice leg kicks, man. Is that a part of your game? Is that something that you've been maybe working on more as your game evolves?
Um, if like a lot of people, I have Stormbreaker from Thor. I have that tattooed on my right shin. So if that lets you know anything about kicks and stuff with me, I love throwing leg kicks. I mean, you can take somebody's soul through their legs if you throw them, and I'm a little bit reckless. I kind of don't really care about what happens to myself. So when I throw those kicks, I mean it every single time. So that's just always been a part of my game. I actually don't really throw them in practice. I save those exclusively for whenever I'm fighting because I know that, it's kind of hard for me to slow those things down whenever they get going.
When you see what happened to Anderson Silva, 8 years ago, and now Chris Weidman, which is crazy, it happened to the guy that Anderson was fighting. Like, does that ever cross your mind when you're throwing those leg kicks? Because the video of when the leg breaks when it gets checked is it's brutal to watch. Is that something you even think about?
I mean, I've thought about it before, but to go in there and do what we do and fight, and you kind of have to. You're going out there. You have somebody that's trying to hurt you, so I mean, there's not really much other than that's gonna happen. The worst thing that could happen is your leg breaks. If somebody checks and they do the right thing, then it is what it is. But I have to go out there and just kind of not really care about that because I could throw a right hand and my hand breaks. So if I really thought about that all the time, it really wouldn't have the effect that it normally has on people.
So this fight here with Perez was elevated to main event status. You know, CFFC is a huge promotion. It's UFC Fight Pass. Did you feel like any added pressure or nerves, you know, going into this fight, or were you calm, cool, and collected when you were making your walk?
So I didn't even know it was gonna be the main event until I looked at the fight poster like the week of. And I was like, oh man, I'm main event. That's cool. I knew I was co-main event prior, but then they bumped us up. So but as far as like whenever I go in there and like I always feel like I'm the main event. I feel like I'm the show. Um like every time I go and I fight, you know, people always come up to me after because of how I fight and the excitement that I bring whenever I step into the cage. So I always feel like I'm the main event, I'm the show, regardless of if I'm first fight or the last fight. So it never is really any pressure. My favorite wrestler is Kyle Dake, and he talks about pressure and how it's just something that you put on yourself. It's non-existent. If you don't put that on yourself, then it doesn't exist. Pressure is just something that it doesn't really affect me that much. I'm used to big moments. So that it was a normal day. I feel like I should probably feel a little bit more pressure. I should probably feel that, the butterflies, but it never really happens. Whenever you put in that work, it doesn't really change anything.
Put into words, you know, what this win meant to you, what that feeling was like afterwards. Had to be the biggest and the best moment of your MMA career thus far.
And that meant I felt, whenever I landed that punch and I realized what I had done, I knew I had changed my life. I knew that being in that promotion, being in CFFC and being the main event, and there's no other, there's not a UFC card. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of eyes that are looking at me. And I know a lot of people saying that. And I knew from that moment that like a lot of things in my life are going to change. Especially all the work that I put in. I haven't worked all year. I've just trained. I've trained for 8 months. Like I've just trained for a fight. I knew that I was gonna fight, and I've rarely missed training sessions. So it's just been it was surreal for all the hard work to actually come in to play, and then I just had that big moment, and it only took 11 seconds. That was ridiculous. I thought I was like a minute in. Time was super slow, so I did not know that it was that quick.
How cool is it fighting for CFFC? I mean, that's a big promotion. Tell me what it's like fighting under that banner.
It was just crazy. Like seeing myself on a poster when you sign, you go, you do the weigh-ins and you go and sign the posters and stuff. Like that was just ridiculous. The production of it was crazy. I mean, I came from, King of the Cage, and like I fought where there was like thousands of people. Like there's a couple thousand people, and that's crazy. But like, being back in that environment and fight when I fought on Top Rank, and my boxing stuff, like I've been in those type of environments, but there was something different. Like that setting with everything being so close in, and I walk out and I see like my family. My family normally really doesn't get to see me fight, and my friends don't normally get to see me fight in person. So it was just it was a big deal for me, just because that was the closest to home I fought MMA in a long time. So it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a really magical night on a number of levels for you, no doubt about it. This is my first time interviewing you, so tell me a little bit more about your team, your camp, and who your main training partners are that you normally get your working with.
So I'm at Cobra Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Tuscaloosa. I feel like we're one of the best MMA gyms in the state of Alabama. Pretty sure everybody else says that about their gym, but I really believe in our guys. I'm actually the only pro in my gym. I train with a whole bunch of amateurs, but they're definitely high-level amateurs. There's a lot of guys that I can see being in the same position that I'm in. We have, guys, Terry Wiggins, Elijah Brantley, Alex Sellers, Jack. We just have a ridiculous amount. We only have like 10 people that I train with. But those guys, you don't really need a lot if you have the guys that are just gonna put in the hard work with you. That's all you need is a team that's willing to, put in that work with you, and they want to see you get better. So we have my coach is Curtis Taylor, and John Dye and JC. JC, he's my my main training partner. He runs our striking classes at Cobra. So he's like the exact same size as Jose Perez. So he was like the guy. Like the black belt. Like I knew that, Jose has great jiu-jitsu, but he's not better than JC. I knew that if I could land some stuff on JC striking, I knew I could land it on Jose. So I had like a perfect training camp. Had just a whole bunch of people that were willing to put all their time and effort into me, just so I could have this moment. And I share this victory with them. They were definitely like the biggest part of everything I've done in this past weekend.
So you're 5-0 as a professional mixed martial artist now. Where are you in your mind in your career? I mean, do you feel like you're a fight or two away from maybe a contender series shot? Like, are you looking to win the featherweight CFFC belt? Like, where's your head at right now? What are you hoping is next?
I'm hoping that somebody falls out. I'm actually, so I look at UFC cards all the time. I'm hoping that I get a call for the Smith and Spann card in September. I think that's the 18th. I would love to fight that night. Or I would love to be on the Ortega and Volkanovski card. I feel like, I fought against some pretty good guys, and the only person I've ever lost to in MMA is Draco Rodriguez. I actually want that fight back. I want that. That is like, he's in the UFC. I want that fight. He's a super cool dude. Like, I love to watch him fight. I feel like we're very similar. So I think that's a fight of the night type of fight. If the UFC watches this, I'm pretty sure they will, then I hope they set that one up. But I feel like I could easily step in for somebody within the next few weeks, or I can just take that belt, the 35 or 45 belt at CFFC. It doesn't really matter to me. I know if I keep winning, then I'll be in the position that I want to be in anyway. So win and advance is the only thing that I'm thinking about right now.
What do you typically walk around at weight wise? And if, when you do make it to the UFC, right? Because, that's the goal. What weight class do you feel like would make the most sense for you to stick in and make a run at? Would that be 35, or would you bounce back if you had the right fights?
Honestly, I plan on being a 35er because, now that I've actually like really been training, I used to never really train that much. Now that I've really been training, I've been walking around, around the 50s, a little bit lighter than that sometimes. Actually, I'm like 147 right now. Like I'm waiting. Like I can make weight every single Friday, like from now on until I get that call up. Like I'm waiting on that call up. So but I used to walk around at like 173. So I could bounce back and forth between, 145, 135. I think that 35 is going to be my home for a little while, until my body starts to mature a little bit more. But I could see myself doing 35 and 45, depending on the fights. Really doesn't matter who I'm fighting. I feel like I can beat people at both weight classes. So, I'm just kind of here and I'm waiting on anything.
Awesome, man. I love the confidence. Well, again, congratulations on the win. 11 seconds, CFFC 99 over Jose Perez. Deandre, the Protege, Anderson. Pleasure to interview you for the first time, my man. Before I let you go, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where to follow you on social media, and if you have anybody to thank, any sponsors, the floor is yours.
You can follow me on social media, all platforms at the Protege MMA 135. And I would really just like to thank my team at Cobra Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all my sponsors, Civilized and Savage Clothing, Stay Gold Tattoo, the Darby Johnson Insurance Agency. I would like to thank my friends and family, like the most, because they've been with me since I was 11 years old when I started wrestling, and they just always supported me, no matter if I was winning or losing. I've won a lot, but even in those tough losses, they were still with me. Um, so I'm just thankful for them. And I like to give a shout out to my girlfriend, Haley, and my daughter. She's actually gonna be one in, let's see, it'll be 13 days. So it'll be her first birthday. So whenever she sees this, when she gets a little bit older, then it's gonna be a little bit early happy birthday to her.